Let me first introduce you. You're Raymond Griffiths, 94 years old, and you're a veteran of the 1st Battalion Herefordshire Regiment, which was in the 11th Armoured Division in the Second World War.
Correct.
That's correct,
yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Well, Raymond, can you please tell me how and when you were enlisted in the military?
I was 13 when World War II first started, and I just witnessed the various aspects of the beginning of what was a slow war. And I then joined the Air Training Corps in the local area and was made a sergeant, which pleased me because I could volunteer then for the RAF. I volunteered for the RAF and then passed as a pilot navigator. Whoopee, great success. Then I took the medical and it was found I was colourblind. Now I didn't know that. Looking back, I realised that my art teacher always tore up my drawings and paintings.
Okay, yeah.
So a consequence of that, I then had to join the army. And I joined the army when my call-up papers came with my birthday cards, my 18th birthday cards. And I thus went into the army via Norton Barracks at Worcester and joined, that's where I started my training. The training lasted until the 17th of February 45.
Yeah.
And that meant then that we were transferred probably a month or 2 months ahead of our date for transfer over to France.
And when did you enter France?
The 19th of February.
19th of February.
Yes. It was a bit traumatic. You'd never been on in the Channel before, or probably not sailed on that particular stretch of water. But looking back, and you looked at the white cliffs of Dover, and there were all young soldiers commenting on it. I wonder if we shall see that again. And so we were then taken to a transit camp in France, ready to take part in the actions. We were lucky. My age group at that time were very lucky. We'd missed D-Day.
Yeah.
We'd missed Arnhem.
Yeah.
And we had limited training.
How many weeks was your training then? Your basic training?
It should have been 6 months.
6 months, yes.
6 months would have got me the Defence Medal, but because we were taken over to France to replace the 4,000 a week casualties of the Allies.
Yeah.
So it foreshortened our time of defending England.
Yeah.
For which those who were there got the Defence Medal.
Yeah. What were your expectations when you came to France and later Holland?
I hadn't the faintest idea. The expression that was used generally from the old soldiers, oh, you'll soon learn what's happening, etc. And that we had to accept that. So from the old soldiers, you learned a lot of the problems associated with being a private in the British Army.
Yeah, yeah. Were you prepared by the army for the battle which was coming?
Yes.
Good,
yes.
Good preparations for that?
Yes.
Or?
Yes. We were posted to an infantry regiment.
Yeah.
who were attached to the 11th Armoured Division. And it was while I was doing exercises with those, learning how to jump on and off the tank, how to dig a slit trench, and so on. But then we were moved from the transit camp to the 11th Armoured Division, where we then joined the Herefordshire Regiment, who had moved on then through France, Belgium and Holland, and finished up at Louvain,
Yeah.
a little village there called Hacht, where the three of us, because I'd met Tom and Cedric as we first entered the army in our training, we then moved into Hacht.
That's in Belgium.
In Belgium.
Yes, okay.
And were thus posted to the Herefordshire Regiment. Now that's where the problem came with us. We were parted. Cedric was posted to C Company 15 Platoon. Tom and I were posted to C Company 14 Platoon. Now,
Yeah.
I think, I'm not quite sure through my memory of whether those are the exact numbers for the platoons.
No, that's not okay.
Yeah. So we were separated.
Yeah. And you were. What was your first day into action? Can you remember that?
Yes. It was probably only a minor situation. Some German Hitler youth
Yeah.
had stopped the tanks for a short while. We then had to go and clear away the Hitler youth as best we could, because they used to be hiding behind trees with the Panzerfaust.
Yeah.
Yeah. When that had been done, we carried on. The next real manoeuvre was crossing the Rhine.
Yeah.
Crossing the Rhine was quite an adventure. The engineers had built a bridge across that, and the tanks and the infantry, Uncle Tom Cobley and all, moved over this bridge late at night. Trace of shells and trace of bullets were flying over the top of us. Searchlights were shining up onto the clouds, and that was cool, and that illuminated the area quite well.
Yeah.
It was called Monty's Moonlight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that enabled us to cross over this bridge and eventually
Advance into Germany.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were in Germany.
Yeah.
So we carried on from the Rhine onwards, and eventually we came to the Teutoburger Wald.
Yeah. That's my next question. What was your most exciting moment during all those days in battle?
Yeah, yeah.
Or a terrible moment it was?
It was.
Yeah.
Yes. On the ridge at the top of the Teutoburger Wald, which, by the way, was steeped in German history from 9 AD.
Yeah.
From 9 AD, the Romans had advanced from Italy and were sweeping through Europe. But the Germans, the Germanic tribes, stopped the German legions and annihilated and killed and did everything to the Roman legions, the camp followers, the slaves, you name it.
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody was killed. And it is in the German history. Had we known that, we wouldn't have been too adventuresome going into that forest.
No.
But when we did, the Herefords made the first attack to the east.
It was on the 1st April.
1st of April.
Easter Sunday.
1st and 2nd of April.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Germans were camped in. They'd arrived there 10 hours before we did.
Yeah.
And of course they dug in. The British soldier doesn't like walking through wet undergrowth. So he used the paths, the bridle paths, the cycle paths.
Yeah.
And he set out on the top of this ridge, on these paths. The Herefords' first attack, they lost 20 casualties.
20 soldiers killed.
Yeah. Then the commanders decided that the 3rd Monmouthshire would make another attack, almost into the same place. And they were annihilated.
Yeah.
They were eventually withdrawn from the 11th Armoured Division, withdrawn from the front line. They had so many casualties.
Yeah.
Luckily, they were a bit further away than we had been. Nevertheless, I think we were about 400 yards away from the area where Corporal Chapman of the 3rd Mons won his Victoria Cross.
Okay, yeah.
There was also a truce when a couple of the Germans came out with the white flag, met our officers and said, "Can we collect the wounded? There are lots of wounded, German and English." So they decided to have a truce.
Yeah.
And the medical orderlies, etc., stretcher bearers, they went and found as many as they could of the wounded. Didn't move any of those that were dead, but moved the wounded back to our first aid post. They included the Germans as well.
Yeah.
Now the camaraderie between those was magnificent. I've met several Germans who didn't want to fight. They didn't want to fight the English or the Americans. We were well received.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the German soldier?
Well, having met a few that had been wounded and conversed with them as best we could,
yeah,
and shared water bottles with them, you became a bit more friendly towards them.
Yeah, they gave them a cigarette and so on, and yeah.
That's right. That's right.
You're breaking the ice then.
We are.
Yeah. Can you also telling something about the death of your friend Cedric?
Yep. Yeah. The two sections of the Herefords had crossed the River Weser in little rubber boats, flat-bottom boats, specially made so that they be carried on a 3-ton truck, and we'd had to cross there and form a bridgehead. Cedric's section went one way through an orchard, and our section, Tom and I, went through the main road, or the road.
Yeah.
Suddenly we were fired on. Bullets were flying all over us. Tom and I dived into the ditch.
Yeah.
The bullets were flying over the top of us. Cedric, going through this orchard, were fired on by a Spandau. Big rate of fire. Frightened you to death when you heard it.
Can imagine that, yes.
Yeah. Well, where the Bren gun, our machine gun, went bang, 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 the German Spandau went brrr,
Yeah.
brrr. In fact, I can hear the damn bullets going now. Yeah. We get clear. Eventually we got mixed, or got to meet some of the section that Cedric was in. And we said, "Where's Cedric?" And the lad said, "Gone." Now the word "gone" affects me.
Yeah, I can imagine this, yes.
Because we'd lost him. Sad.
Very sad. He was also 18 years old.
18?
Yeah.
Yes. I think he was the oldest of the three of us. But he was the quietest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite lovely lad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The experiences during the war, how did they affect you on your further life?
I was only interested in getting home. I'd met this young lady before we got transferred, Emily, wonderful. And she'd corresponded with me all the time I was in the forces, even when I was in a slick trench with Tom.
You still have the letters?
Yeah,
oh yeah.
She'd send me one of those.
Yeah.
And Tom and I are fighting the Germans, licking away at our
lollipop, yeah.
She also sent toilet paper.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Most welcome.
Yeah, most welcome.
Anyway, when I got demobbed, we started courting again, and eventually we married, which was wonderful. I had a wonderful, brilliant married life.
What you have been our guest to the Monument of Tolerance for many years. How do you think about the Monument of Tolerance and about tolerance in general?
Our life for Brian and I and Emily was to have met the members of the Dutch group who directed or had the erection of the Monument of Tolerance.
Yeah. Can you concentrate about my last question about how you think about tolerance in general?
Yes. Tolerance, it could be learned at an early age, but unfortunately it isn't. Tolerance is one of the manoeuvres in our lives which would help us tremendously to understand how different nations operate, how different organisations operate. I think the Monument of Tolerance and all the paperwork and all this history of it has been wonderful. And we've endeavoured to assist in that by talking to school children at our local schools.
Yeah.
We talk to your local schools as well, and we've had some wonderful, wonderful replies from them. One day, arrived at my house, a package. I opened it up and I could spread a piece of string, and fixed to that string were labels.
Yeah.
Pretty labels. Each one with a message on it. You can then clearly see how the children here had understood what we were talking about, because the way they responded to it was brilliant.
Yeah, okay, good to hear. You also had contacts with German veterans during the ceremony and the Veterans Week.
Yes.
You can remember water railing.
We asked if you would invite Herman the German, as we call him.
Yeah, yeah.
A guy who'd met us, corresponded with us, treated us with the respect, and it was great. The Monument of Tolerance has opened up the world as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
And we endeavour to teach our youngsters by visiting the school, probably telling them about something dramatic, but nevertheless, we try.
Okay, Raymond. Thank you very much for this interview.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.